Hi, welcome to Stephen Lee's YouTube page. I'm a building contractor that works in and around the Northern Territory, Western Australia and throughout the rest of Australia in remote areas. I am trying to put across on my YouTube page some of the things that I do, some of the places I go and the things that I build. I pretty much will tackle almost any building project and civil project, but I have taken a keen interest in the last few years in alternative building and off-grid building, for instance. I've been quite inspired by some of the people that I've been watching on other YouTube pages in the US and some of the ones in Australia, also the UK. It's very interesting to see that there's a lot of people that have been affected or want to change their way of living. It's been very interesting for me to come across that. When I was quite a young lad, I had the privilege of building or working on a few building projects from about the ages of about 9 through to about 16 or 17. That came from my parents, who had a lot of friends who were a little bit alternative. We come from a farming background, but my mother was a nurse, my father was a farmer. My mother delivered some children for a couple of people who were a little bit alternative. We went up and into their property in the mountains in Victoria, and we got into meeting a few other people who were building mud brick houses for a start. My father was very interested in mud brick homes at the time. Myself and my two younger brothers were free labour pretty much. We got to manage to make, I reckon we probably made about 4,000 puddle bricks for a place up in Dargo. Then we worked on a weatherboard home, and that really kicked on my interest into the building and construction industry. I've rolled through many areas of the building and construction industry in Australia and overseas, in Indonesia and in Fiji. I've held several positions from project manager down to labourer. I work as a building contractor, and project management is what I do pretty much for companies throughout Australia in remote areas. I like to try and go to the more remote areas because I like them. They're a lot more challenging. You need to be able to plan projects properly. You need to be able to think on your feet. You need to be able to work out your logistics. You need to be able to be self-reliant, and that's pretty much what I like to be. I managed to be able to have a fair few good guys working around me, and you'll be introduced to them over the time and over the years, hopefully. I've lived in the Northern Territory now for 32, going on 33 years. I have two young sons, 8 years old and 10 years old, Kane and Hunter. Kane is the eldest, he's 10, and Hunter is the youngest, he's 8. They're both a little bit of a handful, but we are trying to bring them into this world with a bit of a better understanding. Don't know how well I'm going at that, but I'm giving it a try. So we will be going through a lot of different stuff. I'm trying to get myself a property so I can start building another property, so I can start building off-grid and try and take on board some of the things I've been seeing on the internet. The difference with a lot of the stuff that I've been looking at, which has been in North America, is that where I live is very hot. It's about 32 degrees Celsius at the moment. It probably would have got up to 38 to 40 degrees Celsius today. Very humid at this time of the year. We're in the wet season. We're in the last 2 months of the wet season. The wet season really starts from September and runs through to April. And generally speaking, that's when we get all of our rain. when you turn into the dry season, we don't get generally any rain at all, and we don't get any rain for up to 8 months. So we've got a very short window period of time of getting rain, and we get a lot of rain. When we get good rain and good wet seasons, we get a lot of rain. We've had a very poor wet season this year, whilst we had a good kick-off to a monsoon just around Christmas time, or just between Christmas and New Year's, and a little bit of rain prior to. We haven't had a lot of rain in between. We have sporadic rain this year, which affects obviously all the growing. Everything, as you can see in the background here, if the fire's going, everything's very green at the moment, but that's generally not the case here. It can be quite dry. Have to keep a lot of sprinklers going. I have previously on other projects bought solar bores for pumping water up. I run on a bore here. There is no permanent, there is no mains water run to this property. I have mains electricity, but I don't have mains water. I work on a septic tank system here, which is down the back, and I will be this year, all going well, building a chicken coop over and planting some trees over the realm drain to try and get that chicken coop shaded. We'll have one in at the moment, but I've managed to let the chickens come to an unfortunate end from a couple of our dogs, so we will be that's overgrown at the moment with vegetables. What the chooks have been eating, that's managed to go through their system, and now is in a very fertile place. Got a lot of pumpkins in there, got some tomatoes, got some sorghum, some ryegrass, lots of things growing in there. So I'm just going to let that grow out and die off, and then I'll reintroduce some new chickens into that pen, and then build a bigger pen, because I would like to do a variety of different chickens, some guinea fowl, and some quail if at all possible. So the purpose of this is really just to try and put across some of the things that I do, some of the works that I do, some of the alternative works I like to try and do. And to put across the different type of building method that we employ, especially here in the northern part of Australia, in the Northern Territory and Western Australia. We are bound by a cyclone code, or a building code that covers cyclonic conditions. So a lot of our construction is quite heavy duty, especially when you take into account some of the stuff that's done in the United States, where it is just timber frame, virtually just nailed together, and then the roof nailed on top of it, and away we go. That does not happen here. Everything is pinned from the foundation to the roof, so the roof and the foundation are basically one. We use a lot of concrete, we use a lot of steel. I do a lot of steel fabrication as well, and it is just the way it has to happen in this area, so you don't have your property damaged or blown away. And 1974, there was a Cyclone Tracy came through this area, destroyed Darwin pretty much. I wasn't here. I was living in Victoria at the time, but I moved up here in 1985. About 11 years after the Cyclone Tracy, and there was still evidence of Cyclone Tracy had been through here. So the building code was changed pretty much straight after that. There were some stringent requirements to build housing and buildings in the Northern Territory, especially in cyclonic areas, and then that flowed on through to Western Australia and any other cyclonic areas throughout Australia. We do use timber frames in southern Australia, but the other problem with timber frames here in the Northern Territory is we have subterranean termites. Termites will eat everything in your house. Um, I've seen them go through rubber tyres. I've seen them eat up in through gyprock to get, you know, 1.5 metres off the floor to get to a frame round a pitcher, so a pitcher frame that's made of pine, and come up the wall, in through the wall, chew through the gyprock, and then ate the timber frame from around the pitcher. So they are very aggressive in this area and in Australia generally, but especially in the northern part of Australia. Very, very aggressive. So things like radiata pine, untreated pine are not generally used. A lot of hardwood used, but generally speaking, there is a lot of brick and block work used here. There is also a lot of steel frame used here, so light gauge steel frame, 1.6mm steel frame, to prevent termites getting into your housing and destroying it. There's a lot of treated laminated timber trusses used here as well. So just to arrest the termite issue. So there'll be a little bit more explained about that in the future videos. So thanks for watching. Please subscribe to my channel. Like it, subscribe to it, punch people through to it, and hopefully we can have a few years of fun. Thanks very much.